Listen to me. This moment is not random. You didn't just stumble upon this message. I drew you here. I've been watching you closely, patiently, with the eyes of the one who has counted every tear, every breath, and every second of your struggle. You've been holding on so tightly for so long, even when your knuckles turned white, even when your strength ran dry. You held on when the weight tried to crush your spirit, when silence echoed louder than answers, when even those closest to you didn't notice how tired you truly were. I saw you. I see you now. And this is the moment I've waited to reach you in. Because you've carried more than what was yours, endured more than they ever knew, and stayed when others would have walked away. I need you to understand something deeply right now. I'm not speaking to the world. I'm speaking to you. You, who laid awake at night wondering if I still heard you. You, who question your value because people didn't know how to treasure you. You, who smiled to keep others strong while secretly unraveling inside. My child, this is your divine appointment, not a coincidence. I orchestrated every second that brought you here because I want to whisper something holy into the middle of your chaos. You are about to cross into something new. But first, you must listen. I need your full attention, because this next season of your life hinges on your ability to hear me, not the noise, not the doubts, not the opinions, but me. You've been strong for too long, and now I want to be your strength. You've been surviving for too long, and now I want to show you what it feels like to truly live under my covering, with no mask, no pressure, and no fear. I am not asking you to figure it out. I am not demanding more from you. I am simply asking you to trust what I am about to reveal. I have chosen this time to speak because your spirit is finally ready to receive what your mind has wrestled with for years. You felt the shifts around you, the sudden endings, the unfamiliar silence, the sense that something is coming, but you can't quite explain it. That's me. I've been making room. I've been removing what you didn't know was harming you. I've been answering prayers by closing doors you didn't have the strength to walk away from. It may have felt like rejection, like confusion, like abandonment, but it was protection. It was me. And now I need you to understand. The season of just holding on is ending. The time of barely surviving is over. I am about to speak into your life in a way that will change everything, but you have to let me in, not just to your words or your actions, but into the deepest corners of your heart. You've trusted me in the storm, but now I want to walk you into peace. You followed me in pain, but now I want to crown you in healing. I have waited patiently for this moment, and now I am saying to you with all the authority of heaven, you've held on longer than most would have, and now I need to speak to your heart. Don't turn away. Don't scroll past this. You asked for a sign, and I am giving you myself. Stay with me. I am just getting started. Now that you're listening with the ears of your spirit, I need you to lean in even closer, because this moment is sacred. You are standing at a threshold, and what I am about to reveal must be known before you step through. Not everything I give is meant for the world to see. Some truths are whispered only to the ones who have endured the silence, the ones who didn't run when it hurt, the ones who stood still when every part of them wanted to give up. And you've proven faithful in the valley, so now I will begin to speak mysteries meant only for those who trusted me in shadows. Before you take another step, before the next door swings open, there are matters of the heart that must be unveiled. This is not just about transition, this is about transformation. You are not leaving one place and entering another unchanged. I am not merely shifting your location, I am reworking your foundation. So I must bring clarity to what's been stirring within you, the unrest, the holy discontent, the questions that woke you up in the middle of the night. That wasn't your anxiety. That was me trying to get your attention. I've placed a new vision inside you, and it's growing louder every day because I refuse to let you settle in a place I never meant for you to stay. But I won't allow you to carry old weights into your new walk. I won't let you step into your future while still holding the echoes of voices that never saw your worth. So I must show you what's been blocking your peace, what's been distorting your confidence, what's been contaminating your expectations. There are lies you believed because of how they treated you, and I am about to pull them out like thorns embedded in your identity. There are burdens you've carried because someone else refused to heal, and I am cutting that chain now. I never asked you to carry what wasn't yours. I never called you to be the fixer of broken souls at the cost of your own. You need to know that. You need to hear that from me, not from anyone else, because I saw how you quietly broke beneath the pressure of roles you never chose. And now, before this chapter ends, I will unbind you from every invisible vow that tethered your progress to pain. You are not obligated to stay in a season just because you started it. You are not required to finish what I never assigned to you. Listen to me carefully. Your obedience is not measured by how long you endure, but by how well you respond when I say, it's time to move. And now, it is time. Not just to leave what's familiar, but to walk into what's been prepared. But preparation requires revelation. And I am about to expose hidden truths, not to shame you, but to free you. I will uncover the roots of fear that have been cloaked in routine. I will show you how some of your patterns were survival mechanisms, not divine strategies. I will open your eyes to the subtle ways you gave away your power in the name of peace. I will make you see what you've been carrying that was never your assignment to begin with. And when you see it, when the veil lifts, there will be release. You'll feel the freedom before you take the first step forward. You'll feel a divine lightness, because my truth doesn't burden, it liberates. My truth doesn't weigh down, it lifts up. And that's what this message is, an invitation to lift your eyes, to lighten your soul, and to walk into what you were truly meant to carry. So breathe. You are not late. You are not behind. You are right on time for revelation. I have much to tell you before this story turns its page. Stay with me. I'm about to reveal everything. What you feel right now, the tension, the weight in your chest, the stillness that surrounds you, is not the conclusion of your story. You have mistaken the pause for finality. But I am here to show you the truth hidden beneath the silence. What appears to be a door closing is actually the sound of one season completing its purpose. It's not a collapse. It's a shift. This space you are standing in, where answers seem delayed and clarity feels distant, is not a punishment nor abandonment. It is the still moment before I write the next sentence of your purpose. And I do not scribble your destiny, I write it with intention, precision, and eternal insight. So I need you to understand something deeper than you've ever known. This moment, right here, is not the end of the road. It is the turn. It is the place where the ink dries on the last line of what you've known, and the fresh parchment awaits the next move of my hand. I am not done with your story, I'm just beginning the part that will make sense of every unanswered why, every closed door, every delay you endured with trembling faith. The chapter you thought would break you was never meant to destroy, it was meant to prepare you. You see, when I transition you, I do not announce it to the crowd. I reveal it in your spirit. I stir something within you that you cannot quite explain, but you feel it. That restlessness, that stirring to move forward, but not knowing where to place your feet. That is the signal that I am turning the page. And while the world might say it's over, while others may assume you've lost your way, I am reminding you it is just a divine turn. You are about to see that I never left your side, even when you walked through shadowed places. I stayed when no one else did. I protected you from things you didn't even know tried to touch you. And now, because you remained, because you believed when belief felt like a whisper, I am carrying you forward. But I need you to stop mourning the past as if it was your only glory. I need you to stop looking over your shoulder wondering if you should go back. What lies behind you was only a stepping stone, not your destination. I never called you to build a house in the temporary. I called you to walk with me into the permanent. So don't mislabel this divine shift as an ending. That's what the enemy wants you to think, that it's over, that you missed it, that too much time has passed, that your best moments are behind you. But I am standing in front of you right now, holding a quill dipped in heavenly ink, ready to write what eyes have not seen and ears have not heard. I'm ready to bring life into what felt dormant. But I will not force this upon you. I will wait for you to believe. I will wait for you to step out of the frame of your former expectations and into the landscape of what I have always seen in you. You are not behind. You are not disqualified. You are in the hands of the author who never abandons the plot midway. So breathe. Let the old words rest. Let the old wounds settle into healing. And prepare yourself for revelation, redemption, and renewal. For this is not where your story fades. This is where the ink flows again. This is where hope rises again. This is where you remember that you were never alone in the process. I was here then. I am here now. And I will be in every word I write next. You are not at the end, child. You are at the edge of divine unfolding. Let me turn the page. Now that your heart is beginning to awaken to the truth of what's unfolding, I must speak plainly, even if it stirs something uncomfortable inside you. The path ahead, the one I've handcrafted for you, is not one you can walk with the same weight you've been dragging behind. There are relationships that were only meant to serve you for a season, not accompany you through your lifetime. There are locations that once nurtured you but now limit the growth I am calling forth. There are behaviors, thought patterns, and comforts that once helped you survive but will now only hinder you from thriving. And I love you far too much to let you carry yesterday's attachments into tomorrow's assignments. You have been wondering why certain connections feel strained, why familiar places feel foreign, why the very things that once brought joy now leave you unsettled. It's not coincidence, it's alignment. I'm shifting the atmosphere around you to reflect the change I'm cultivating within you. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. But with that preparation comes separation. Not all who walked with you in the last chapter are equipped to handle the weight of your next elevation. Some were companions in your wilderness but will not fit into your promised land. And I know it hurts. I saw how you tried to keep everyone close, how you believed loyalty meant holding on even when it bruised your soul. But I never asked you to stay bound to what is no longer bearing fruit. Healing often begins at the point of release. If I am removing, it is because I am replacing. If I am stirring distance, it is because I am making space. And if I am quieting old voices, it's because I need you to hear me louder than them. Some people only saw the version of you that was broken, and they built expectations on your brokenness. They won't understand who you're becoming. They may misinterpret your stillness as coldness, your silence as arrogance, your movement as betrayal. But you are not responsible for explaining a divine transition to those who were never meant to perceive it. I am not calling you to be cruel, I am calling you to be obedient. And obedience sometimes requires leaving the familiar behind so you can embrace what's been divinely reserved. You cannot step into royalty while clinging to survival mindsets. You cannot inherit the fullness of my promises while maintaining patterns rooted in fear. And I know letting go feels like loss, but in my kingdom, surrender is always followed by gain, just not always in ways the world can recognize. I am asking you now, are you willing to walk with me even if it means walking alone for a moment? Are you willing to trust me with what you're releasing even if you don't yet see what's replacing it? Because I promise you this, I will never ask you to give up anything unless I plan to give you something greater in return. Maybe not more glamorous, maybe not louder or grander, but always richer, always deeper, always more aligned with your purpose than anything you've ever known. But to receive that, your hands must be empty. You cannot grasp what is next while holding tightly to what is done. So let it fall if it must. Let the distance grow if it must. Let the doors close gently and without bitterness. Let me do the pruning so the fruit can finally flourish. I know what you need more than you know what you want. And I promise, the future I've prepared doesn't require the pieces you're afraid to lose. Walk forward. What's ahead of you is worth every goodbye behind you. I need you to understand something sacred and often misunderstood. Before liberty comes, there is always a heaviness that rests on the soul, a holy ache that precedes divine release. And though you've answered my call to walk away from what no longer fits the shape of your future, I will not pretend that the process feels easy. The ache you're experiencing now, the sudden quiet, the sting of parting, That's not weakness. That is the cause of courage. That's the sound of shedding skin that once protected you but can no longer contain you. You've released what was familiar, and now your hands feel empty. You've let go of connections, spaces, memories that held history, even pain, and now you're feeling the full gravity of absence. And I'm here, right now, not to take away the feeling, but to walk with you through it. Because there is holiness in the heaviness. There is purpose in the pause. The sorrow you feel as you say goodbye isn't something to escape, it's something to honor. This is the evidence that you love it deeply, gave wholeheartedly, believed bravely. This grief you carry isn't shameful. It's sacred. It means your heart was present. It was real. It was open. That kind of heart is rare, and it is the kind I trust with the assignments that matter most. But I know what comes next is confusing. You expected immediate relief, but instead, there's a hollow quiet. That's because the release must settle before the new can rise. You are standing in between. 1 foot in the no longer, 1 foot waiting for the not yet. And in this space, emotions will swirl. Questions will come. Doubts will whisper. But let me speak louder. You are not lost, you are in the divine middle, where I do my greatest work. You are being refined, not punished. Molded, not discarded. I am not rushing this part because it's in this tenderness that your roots grow deeper. You cannot heal what you will not feel. And so I allow the weight not to break you, but to stabilize you. To show you what truly matters. To strip away the noise so that my voice becomes the only one you follow. Yes, you may cry. Yes, you may ache. But do not let those feelings convince you that you've made the wrong choice. Letting go was not abandonment. It was alignment. And freedom is coming, it always does. It never announces itself with fireworks. It arrives slowly, like dawn breaking over a weary landscape. First a glow, then warmth, then sight. And you will feel it like a breath you didn't know you'd been holding, finally released. Like peace slowly replacing panic. Like hope tiptoeing back into your atmosphere. That's the freedom I'm bringing. But first, I needed to make room. Room in your emotions. Room in your soul. Room in your surroundings. This heaviness you carry. It's the threshold to glory. And you are not walking through it alone. I am holding your heart with the gentlest care. I am collecting every tear like treasure. I am speaking over you when you sleep, restoring places within that you thought were beyond repair. You are not forgotten. You are in process. And this process is producing something eternal. So don't rush it. Don't curse the discomfort. Don't try to fill the emptiness with substitutes. Sit with me in it. Trust me through it. Watch how I turn sorrow into strength. Watch how I take ashes and craft something unrecognizably beautiful. You will look back on this time and see not just what you lost but what you gain. And you will realize the pain was not pointless. It was the pathway, the gateway, the holy ground between what was and what is coming. So yes, the farewell is weighty. But soon, the release will be undeniable. Keep walking. The morning is closer than it feels. There are goodbyes you mourn, and then there are goodbyes you don't yet realize saved you. Not every departure in your life is meant to break you, some are orchestrated to shield you. You may not see it at first because the leaving often feels like loss. But I want to uncover something deeper for you, something sacred you may have overlooked while grieving what walked away. There were connections I gently unraveled because they were slowly unraveling you. There were voices I allowed to fade because they kept speaking against the truth I planted in your soul. There were situations I removed you from not because you failed, but because you were starting to forget your worth. And though the absence left an echo, that echo was better than the erosion of your identity. You didn't see the hidden motives. You didn't know what was whispered when you weren't in the room. You couldn't discern how much of your light was being dimmed just to fit inside spaces too small for your spirit. But I did. I saw everything. I heard every word. I watched every subtle shift. And so, with mercy, I intervened. I didn't allow it to stay because if it had, you would have started compromising in places you were meant to conquer. And though you felt the sting of separation, you didn't feel the greater danger I pulled you away from. That's why I call it protection. I was guarding your future when you were still trying to preserve the past. I was shielding your purpose when you were simply seeking peace. And that's okay, you didn't fail by wanting to make it work. You love it purely. You gave fully. You believed sincerely. That doesn't make you foolish, it makes you brave. But now I need you to open your eyes to the reality that I protect what I place my hand upon. You are covered, not cast aside. You are chosen, not cut off. The shift was not rejection, it was redirection. Some goodbyes didn't happen to you. They happened for you. If you had remained, you would have continued shrinking. You would have continued silencing yourself to keep others comfortable. You would have continued trying to prove your worth to people determined not to see it. So I allowed the parting to occur, even though it confused you. And now, I'm here to tell you what you lost wasn't loss. It was deliverance. You didn't miss an opportunity. You dodged a limitation. You didn't lose love. You stepped away from illusion. You didn't fall behind. You escaped what would have drained your destiny. I cover you in ways you don't always understand in the moment. I close doors you begged me to open because I saw what was on the other side. I remove things you celebrated because I know when celebration is blinding you from discernment. And through it all, I remain by your side, whispering truth, even when your heart is screaming with confusion. That's how committed I am to your becoming. I will interrupt what's comfortable to birth what's holy. I will disrupt what seems safe to establish what's eternal. And when you look back and you'll see the patterns. You'll recognize how every farewell led you closer to fullness. You'll realize how every shift cleared the path for something sacred to arrive. And your soul will finally exhale with the knowledge that my hand has been steady all along. I do not remove without reason. I do not protect without purpose. And I never, ever leave you exposed. So breathe. Let the relief in. Let the burden roll off your shoulders. You're not broken, you're being built. You're not wounded, you're being woven into something beautiful. Every parting that you've walked through was guided. And today, I want you to hear it from me. Not all farewells are tragic. Some are treasures disguised in silence. Some are shields sent in love. And I will keep you safe, always. You carried it quietly, didn't you? That breaking point, the one where your soul whispered what your mouth couldn't bring itself to say. I witnessed it. No one saw your hands trembling when you made that decision. No one noticed how you avoided eye contact because your heart was splitting silently. But I was there. I stood beside you in the stillness, watching every single emotion pass through your chest. The world didn't know what it cost you to choose release over comfort, to stop holding on to what was slowly unraveling your peace. But I did. I didn't miss one drop of sorrow that your eyes blinked away when you smiled for everyone else. I didn't overlook the way you stayed strong in the daylight but collapsed into whispers when night wrapped itself around you. That moment, that sacred moment when your soul finally admitted it couldn't carry certain weights anymore, it shook the heavens, because surrender like that is rare. You see, letting go isn't weakness, it's holy courage. And what you did, choosing to move forward without closure, choosing to step away without a villain to blame, choosing to say goodbye not out of anger but out of preservation, that took a kind of faith that pleases me deeply. You didn't shout. You didn't demand. You simply bowed your heart and allowed me to take what was never meant to stay. And though it tore something inside you, you trusted me enough to walk away anyway. That is what I honor. That is what I respond to, not performances, not perfection, but a heart willing to trust me when nothing makes sense. You didn't know if you were doing the right thing. You second-guessed yourself. You even questioned if maybe you gave up too soon. But I'm here to confirm what your spirit already sensed. It was time. It had been time. And while everyone else kept seeing the surface, I saw the slow erosion of your joy, the way your soul was beginning to dim, the parts of you that were growing tired from pretending. I couldn't let that continue. So I whispered. I nudged. I stirred an unease within you that wouldn't go away, and you finally listened. Even though it meant stepping into unknowns. Even though it meant walking without applause. Even though it meant greeting alone. But let me tell you this: what you did in silence will be restored in light. What you gave up in faith will return multiplied in purpose. What you walked away from for the sake of your soul will make room for something far more sacred than anything you've ever known. You were not abandoned, you were aligned. And now, I want you to stop hiding the tender part of your story. The world taught you to bury your pain. But I say, let me touch it. Let me anoint it. Let me use it to minister healing to others who are too afraid to release what is breaking them. Your tears are not signs of failure. They are evidence that your heart still beats with compassion, truth, and conviction. So yes, I saw the tears, the unspoken cries, the moments when you looked up, hoping for a sign that you weren't making a mistake. This is that sign. You're not lost. You're not weak. You're not forgotten. You are seen. You are covered. You are being moved by my hand, even when you don't feel it. And though the tears flowed without sound, I collected every one. I don't just watch, I remember. And I redeem. You'll see. Soon, the heaviness will lift. Soon, you'll realize why the goodbye had to happen. And the tears you cried in private will be the very testimony that sets someone else free in public. So don't regret what you released. Don't doubt the prompting that led you here. You heard me clearly, and I'm proud of how you obeyed, even with trembling hands. Stay with me. The next part of the journey will make every silent tear worth it. You have always had a generous spirit. You've tried to bring everyone with you, to lift them when they were low, to pull them forward when they resisted movement, to carry burdens that were never yours. I know your heart behind it. I know how much you want to see others thrive. I know how deeply you believe in redemption, and how much you want to be a bridge for those still wandering. But this is where I must speak a difficult truth to your soul. Not everyone you love is part of the next season I'm leading you into. Your calling has a weight that only those trained by me can withstand. It's not that they are evil or unworthy, it's that they are not assigned to your future. And the longer you try to drag everyone along, the heavier your journey becomes. You've been worn out not because of what you're called to do, but because of who you've tried to bring along the way. You're not their savior, I am. You're not their source, I am. You're not their solution, I am. And when you keep trying to be their guide while walking your own path, you dilute the anointing I've placed on you. You keep slowing down, waiting for others who refuse to move. You keep circling back, hoping to convince them of a truth I've already spoken. But some people can't hear me while they are still clinging to what I'm asking them to release. That's not your failure. That's their choice. And you must not confuse compassion with disobedience. I did not call you to be weighed down by those who resist transformation. I called you to walk in obedience, even if the path grows narrow, even if fewer people walk beside you, even if the applause fades and the understanding stops. I called you to follow my voice, not their expectations. And here's the truth: elevation always creates separation. The higher I take you, the fewer will be able to keep pace. It's not punishment. It's precision. Those who were essential in one chapter may become obstacles in the next if you don't release them. You don't need to announce your distance. You don't need to explain your growth. Just walk. Just move when I say move. Just trust that I know who belongs and who doesn't. I've already placed the right people along your path, those who will sharpen you, encourage you, align with what I'm building in you. And I've already removed those whose presence would interfere with your obedience. If they faded, it was intentional. If they walked away, it was divine timing. If they no longer feel close, it's because I am shifting your circle to reflect your calling. I know you don't want to hurt anyone. I know you fear being misunderstood. But you cannot steward destiny while managing everyone's emotions. I'm not asking you to be harsh. I'm asking you to be faithful. You'll know who's meant to walk with you by their fruit. They won't compete with your purpose. They won't try to dim your fire. They'll challenge you to rise. They'll protect your peace. They'll stir your spirit with truth. And if you find yourself constantly drained by someone's presence, that's not love, it's misalignment. My assignments come with grace, not exhaustion. And I'm calling you now to lighten your load. Not because I want you to walk alone, but because I want you to walk with clarity. I will surround you with the right voices in the right time. But for now, release the pressure to bring everyone. You are not betraying them by moving forward. You are honoring me by obeying what I've spoken. I'll take care of them. I'll take care of you. But this path is holy, and it requires clean hands, clear vision, and surrendered steps. So go unapologetically, obediently, and peacefully. Your destiny is waiting. What I'm drawing you into now is not simply another season, it is a consecrated transition, one that cannot be approached casually or surrounded by noise. There is something holy I want to unfold within you, something delicate and deep, and it requires space that others may not understand. You've grown used to constant voices, continuous movement, and the comfort of familiar dialogue. But now I'm asking you to step back, not to isolate out of fear, but to separate out of obedience. I am bringing you into a moment of sacred stillness, not because I am far, but because I want to be closer than you've ever allowed me to be. The solitude I've prepared for you is not a void, it is a sanctuary. It is the chamber where I will whisper identity into your spirit, where I will clarify the direction you've been pleading to hear, and where I will remove every residue that clings to you from environments I never meant for you to linger in. You've long craved clarity, and it's coming, but first, I must hush the background voices. Some revelation doesn't arrive through explanation, but through encounter. And this encounter begins when distractions fall away and your ears tune solely to me. I'm not calling you into loneliness. I'm calling you into intimacy. The kind of intimacy that strips away false comfort and exposes the true condition of your heart, not to shame you, but to prepare you. What I'm building inside you can't be formed in public. It needs the quiet of private surrender. The soil of your soul must be tilled before I can plant the depth of purpose I've reserved for you. And I know it can feel unsettling. A sudden quiet. A shift in conversation. The absence of those who used to always be around. It feels like something's missing. But I assure you, what's missing is what was never supposed to remain. I am not punishing you by making you walk alone for a while. I'm positioning you. Because before I release new connections, I want to strengthen your connection with me. Before you are sent to speak into others, I must first speak into you. Before I place new people beside you, I want to make sure your spirit recognizes my voice above every other sound. Solitude is where you learn that I am enough, not just in theory, but in experience. It's where you discover that your worth was never tied to how many people affirmed you, how many stayed loyal, or how much you were included. Your value is defined by my voice, and I'm about to make that voice unmistakably clear. You'll begin to recognize how much noise had been clogging your discernment. You'll realize how often you adjusted your walk to accommodate people who were never meant to direct your steps. And as painful as that realization may feel, it is necessary, for what's ahead requires precision. You are entering holy territory. Your footing must be steady. Your ears must be sharp. Your heart must be rooted in the truth of who I say you are, not the labels others placed on you. So don't resist the quiet. Embrace it. Let me strip away the layers that never belonged to you. Let me fill the space where conversation used to flow with words from heaven that will breathe life into dry places. This moment of solitude will not last forever, but it is essential. The connections I'm bringing in the future will align with your refined purpose, not your past patterns. But if you rush this process, you risk bringing old echoes into a new echo chamber. You risk confusing history with destiny. So let me have this time. Let me reintroduce you to yourself, the self I designed, the self that existed before the world told you who you were supposed to be. Let this be the season where I become your first voice, not your last resort. Walk with me in the quiet now, so you can walk with clarity later. This journey is holy. Treat it as such. There's something I want you to grasp now deeply, completely, and without confusion. What you're experiencing isn't a consequence of failure. It's not discipline for getting something wrong. It's the refining that comes before restoration. When I begin to transition someone I love, I don't do it to cause pain, I do it to purify what has become entangled with things that were never meant to stay. This farewell that feels like loss is actually a cleansing. I am not removing people or circumstances from you to punish you, I am sanctifying the space you're stepping into. You have asked me for clarity, for purpose, for peace that goes beyond understanding. And I am answering that prayer not by adding more, but by stripping away what has clouded your perspective. You see, I do my most transformative work not by increasing volume, but by reducing interference. The noise that you've grown used to, I'm silencing it. The patterns that no longer serve who you're becoming, I'm disrupting them. The attachments that once seemed harmless but have grown into hindrances, I'm loosening their grip. Because where I'm taking you, there must be room for truth to breathe, for light to break through, for holiness to take root. And that can't happen when your spirit is weighed down by what used to be. Purity is not just about action, it's about alignment. It's about having a heart that beats in rhythm with mine, a life that reflects my presence without distortion. And for that to happen, some things must be peeled back. Not because you were contaminated, but because I want to make you even more radiant. I'm not ashamed of your past. I'm not disappointed in your journey. I simply see a future for you that demands full clarity, and I'm clearing the pathway. You may feel like parts of your world are falling apart, but in truth, I'm putting the pieces back into divine order. What looks like unraveling is actually unveiling. I'm showing you what was hidden beneath the surface so that I can rebuild with strength, not instability. Don't mistake my pruning for rejection. It's proof that I've chosen you to carry something more. I don't prune what I plan to discard, I prune what I've destined to flourish. And I know, pruning feels sharp. It exposes what you'd rather keep hidden. It separates you from what you once clung to. But it also prepares you to carry purity, not perfection, but wholeness. The kind of wholeness that walks into a room and shifts the atmosphere. The kind of wholeness that doesn't perform, but simply is. That is what I'm forming in you. I'm calling you to walk in transparency. No more pretending. No more shrinking to make others comfortable. No more hiding parts of yourself to keep peace that isn't real. This purification will cleanse not only your surroundings, but your vision. You'll begin to see with clarity what you once excused. You'll discern what's sent by me and what's only disguised as good. You'll speak with a new authority, not loud, but unmistakable. That kind of transformation requires time set apart. That's what this farewell is making possible. You couldn't see it before because the layers ran deep, the bonds were tight, the patterns were familiar. But I'm unraveling all of it so that what remains is me. Only me. And when you're grounded in that kind of foundation, nothing will shake you. Not betrayal, not distance, and not transition. Because your roots will no longer be tangled in fleeting attachments. They'll be anchored in the eternal. So, no, this farewell isn't about punishment. It's about preparation. It's about purifying your space, your voice, your path. It's about removing what dulls your sensitivity so that you can feel me again, closer, clearer, deeper than ever. Let me do this work in you. Let me cleanse what you didn't even realize had grown heavy. Let me remove the dust from your perspective. Because once this is complete, you'll shine not with effort, but with the purity that only comes from surrender. I'm not stripping you down, I'm setting you free. And that freedom will be unmistakable. There were things surrounding you, some subtle, some familiar, that began to erode your inner calm without your full awareness. Not everything that robs peace enters with chaos. Some of the greatest threats to your well-being come dressed in routine, masked as loyalty, cloaked in comfort. That is why I stepped in. I didn't wait for it to destroy you completely. I intervened while your spirit was still tender enough to feel, still soft enough to respond. You began to sense the unrest long before you found the words to explain it. The conversations that once seemed harmless began to drain you. The settings that once felt like home began to feel off. Your own reactions shifted. You grew quiet in places you once laughed. That wasn't random. It was your soul trying to alert you that something sacred was being tampered with. And now, I'm here to tell you what your heart already suspects. Not everything you called peaceful was truly peace. Some of it was numbing. Some of it was adaptation. You made yourself small to keep the atmosphere undisturbed. You lowered your voice to avoid tension. You tolerated patterns that slowly chipped away at your joy because you were afraid to disrupt what felt stable. But I'm not calling you to fake peace, I'm calling you to real freedom. And real freedom requires realignment. So I began to separate you. Not as punishment, but as a rescue. I started creating distance. You wondered why certain people began pulling away. You questioned why doors didn't open that once would have. You noticed a gap between your inner voice and the outer world. That was me. I was extracting you from atmospheres that once served a purpose but now obstruct your purpose. You were being shaped by things that were no longer aligned with who I've called you to be. And in my mercy, I didn't let it continue. I removed you before the damage became permanent. You see, I value your peace more than your performance. I prioritize your health above your comfort. And when I saw that your surroundings were beginning to mute your discernment, I acted swiftly. I am a shepherd, and when one of my own begins to drift toward danger, I don't wait. I reach. And that's exactly what I did with you. You didn't lose anything valuable in this separation. You gained clarity. You gained strength. You gained the ability to hear me again without distortion. Yes, it felt like absence. Yes, the sudden space was confusing. But look at your spirit now. It's beginning to breathe again. It's remembering how peace actually feels, not the fragile calm you maintain by suppressing yourself, but the unshakable stillness that comes when you are completely aligned with me. That's what I'm giving you now. I'm restoring your ability to recognize what disrupts your atmosphere. I'm giving you sharper insight. I'm revealing conversations that carry subtle destruction. I'm showing you where your energy leaks and where your focus gets tangled. And I'm doing it so you can walk into what's next without the invisible strings of sabotage pulling you backward. No more secretly compromising to keep external harmony. No more sacrificing your mental strength to avoid discomfort. I am purging the counterfeit so you can embrace the authentic. And as I separate, don't chase what I've removed. Don't try to resuscitate what I've called finished. I am not asking for bitterness. I am asking for obedience. Bless those you must leave behind, but don't anchor yourself to where I'm no longer leading you. This is about wholeness now. This is about real peace. Not the kind that demands you shrink, but the kind that allows you to stand tall in the identity I placed within you. Trust me. I'm not taking anything from you that you will need. I'm setting you apart because what's coming requires a protected space. And in that space, your spirit will rise. Your focus will return. Your voice will grow clear. And most importantly, your peace will remain undisturbed, unshaken, untouched. That is my promise. I saw the ache in your chest when certain doors shut without warning. I witnessed the heartbreak you carried when familiar voices grew distant and promises were left unfulfilled. The loss felt sharp, sudden, and undeserved. It felt as though something essential had been taken from you, as if what slipped through your fingers had been the very thing holding you together. But I need you to know something that only hindsight will fully confirm. What was removed was not meant to remain. What departed had served its time. What dissolved was not lost, it was release. You see it as subtraction. I see it as making space. And soon, what once made your heart tremble with sorrow will cause your lips to tremble with gratitude. Because what felt like devastation in one season is the very thing that will usher in your deliverance in the next. I don't allow things to exit your life without divine reason. Nothing disappears without purpose when you're walking with me. The tears you shed were not wasted. The pain you endured did not go unnoticed. But neither were they in vain. Every ending I allowed, every shift I permitted, every silence I sustained, it all carried intention. I saw what you could not. I perceived what was ahead when all you could feel was the void. You only saw the vacancy, I saw the preparation. You were fixated on what slipped away, I was focused on what I was preparing to pour into your life. And now, the time is coming when clarity will meet you in waves. You will remember the nights you wept and realize that I was already writing new joy behind the scenes. You will recall the moments of confusion and discover they were the very thresholds to greater revelation. You will recognize the removal not as rejection, but as divine redirection. I didn't take what you needed. I took what was quietly draining you, what was slowly shifting your identity away from what I designed. You were settling for survival when I had abundance in store. You were clinging to what was familiar, not realizing how much of your strength was being used to maintain something I never called you to preserve. And I know it didn't feel like protection at the time. It felt like abandonment. But now I tell you plainly, it was mercy. It was foresight. It was me standing guard over your destiny. What you mourn was my way of making room for something greater. And when it arrives, and it will, you will look back and thank me for not giving you what you thought you wanted. You will say, Lord, now I see. You will rejoice over the redirection. You will bless me for not answering some of your prayers the way you imagined. Because the very thing you cried over losing was the barrier to what I was about to birth. I do not delay without reason. I do not deny without cause. I do not remove without preparing to restore. And what I am building now in you through every moment of surrender is far more glorious than what you had to lay down. This is the part of the journey where sorrow is reinterpreted. This is the season where tears become testimony. You will not only heal, you will rise. And the rising will come with wisdom, peace, and depth. The kind of gratitude that cannot be forced or faked, the kind that comes only when you've seen me work through the wreckage and turn it into something radiant. Yes, there were things that hurt to release. Yes, there were moments you wanted to turn back. But soon, and very soon, you will understand why I intervene. And when you do, your heart will not ache, it will overflow. Not just because I gave you something better, but because you will finally see that I have always known what was best. You trusted me in the dark, and now I will reveal what I've been preparing in the light. Joy is coming, and it's going to change everything. I know how exhausting it's been trying to explain what you feel deep within, only to be met with blank stares, confusion, or worse, judgment. You've carried a fire inside that others cannot see, and you've wrestled with the pressure to justify your choices, your steps, your silence, your obedience. You hoped they would understand. You've tried to put your purpose into words that could bridge the gap between your heart and their perception. But no matter how many ways you've attempted to explain the weight you feel or the path I've placed you on, their eyes remain clouded, not out of malice, but because they were never meant to comprehend what was crafted for your soul alone. And I'm here to tell you, breathe. Rest. You don't need to keep defending what I designed. The anointing I placed over your life is not up for public approval. Your assignment doesn't come with a panel of human judges. I didn't hand out your instructions to a crowd, I whispered them into the depths of your spirit. And it is from that sacred place that you are called to move forward, not from the need for validation. You are not misunderstood because you are wrong. You are misunderstood because what I am doing in you is beyond natural explanation. Spiritual things cannot be measured by surface standards. I have marked you with something unique, and not everyone will be ready to recognize that. And that's okay. You're not responsible for opening their eyes. I will handle that in time if it's necessary. But for now, I want you to walk boldly in what I've shown you. You don't need their applause to proceed. You don't need agreement to walk in truth. What you need is peace in knowing that the one who formed you has already affirmed you. I've watched you shrink back, second guess, hesitate because the ones you hoped would cheer for you instead questioned your steps. But they weren't rejecting you, they simply couldn't perceive what I've concealed for a season. I often hide the full magnitude of my plans until the appointed hour, not just to protect you, but to test your resolve. Can you keep walking even when those around you don't understand? Can you remain faithful when no one affirms your direction? Can you keep following me when others think you're lost? That's where maturity is forged. That's where your roots grow deep, not in applause, but in alignment. And now, I want you to release the burden of needing to be understood. It's not yours to carry. I never told you to pause your journey until they caught up. I never asked you to dilute your mission so they'd feel more comfortable. You've been trying to translate divine revelation into human language, and it's left you weary. But I'm lifting that weight now. Walk in what I gave you. Let your life speak louder than your explanations. The fruit will reveal what words cannot. Your obedience will speak for itself. The transformation they'll see in you will be undeniable. And some who question you now will one day ask how you remain so steady. That's when you'll testify not from a place of defense, but from overflow. Not from needing to prove anything, but from living proof that I am who I say I am, and I complete what I begin. And if they still don't understand, even then bless them and keep moving. You are not called to convince. You are called to continue. The oil I've placed on your life is for those assigned to receive from it. Stop spilling it trying to convince those who aren't ready. I will place the right hearts in your path, those who recognize your spirit without needing a full explanation. Now walk freely. No more apologizing for what I've asked of you. Or bending to fit inside their limited understanding. Keep following me. I'll take care of the rest. You've been feeling alone in your obedience, haven't you? Walking forward with conviction while being surrounded by those who question your direction. It can feel isolating, even disorienting, when you know you've heard from me. But those around you remain stuck in what they think they understand. But I want to reassure you, what you see on the surface is not the full picture. While you've been focused on their visible reactions, I've been speaking directly to the unseen depths of their soul. Though they may not respond in the way you hoped, I've been planting seeds in their spirit long before you tried to explain your steps. They may not articulate it. They may even deny it aloud. But deep within, they've already felt the nudge of my presence. There's a stirring they can't quite explain, a restlessness they can't escape, a quiet awareness that something sacred is unfolding around them even if their words say otherwise. Don't confuse silence with disconnection. Don't assume resistance means absence. I have ways of reaching hearts that bypass the intellect. My spirit knows how to whisper in ways no voice can imitate. Even in their sleep, I can speak. Even in their routine, I can move. And that's exactly what I've been doing. I know you've wanted them to affirm you. You've longed for their support, for the bond of shared understanding. And yes, one day clarity may come, but even now, unseen to you, I've already begun the conversation with their soul. I don't need your explanations to prepare them. I only need your obedience to keep walking. I'll handle the awakening. I'll open their eyes in due time. You don't need to push. You don't need to press. I've begun a process that will unfold exactly as it should. They may wrestle. They may avoid. But something inside them will not return to sleep. Because once I breathe into the spirit, even if the mind protests, the heart begins to respond. I work in layers. I peel back what hath been hardened by fear, disappointment, pride, or pain. And slowly, steadily, I restore sensitivity. You've been planting with your life. They've been receiving without knowing. Every boundary you set with grace. Every word you spoke without needing to defend. Every act of quiet courage administered to them. And even now, those moments are echoing in places they can't quite name. Don't despise the delay. Revelation often unfolds like dawn, not all at once, but gradually. Light builds. Understanding rises. And when it comes, it won't be because you forced it, it'll be because I unveiled it. What you shared may have been dismissed outwardly, but it was heard internally. What they resisted intellectually, I am confirming spiritually. Your voice may have grown tired, but I've taken over from here, and I will complete the work I've begun in them. Let me remind you of something you've forgotten in your discouragement. You're not alone in this assignment. I walk with you, and I go ahead of you. I till the soil of hearts before you even speak. I make a way where communication has failed. I open what's been sealed, and I redeem time in ways you cannot measure. So let go of the pressure to persuade. Release the burden to be understood right now. It's not your weight to carry. Your job is to trust me not just with your future, but with theirs too. I'm not finished with them. I'm not blind to their process. And just because their mind is slow to catch up doesn't mean their spirit hasn't already responded. Watch what I do in the quiet. Watch how I transform without announcement. I've already begun. Let that be your peace. Let me settle that ache in your chest, the one that flares up when someone you cared for begins to drift. You notice the change in their tone, the hesitation in their presence, the growing gap in communication. And you've questioned it. You've replayed moments, wondering if you said too much or too little. You've wondered what you could have done differently to hold on to what's slipping through your fingers. But I'm here to speak a truth that will set your soul at ease. If they cannot walk with you now, if they choose to leave while I'm moving you forward, then they were never destined to be part of your unfolding future. I do not remove people to harm you, I separate with intention. And while it hurts in the now, what feels like rejection is often my protection from greater heartache later. Some connections were only assigned to walk a few chapters with you, not the entire journey. Their presence served a purpose, but not every purpose is permanent. And that's not a reflection of your worth or a sign that something is wrong with you, it's a mark of transition. I am refining your path. The weight of your next season cannot be shared with those still anchored in where you used to be. You're evolving. You're hearing me more clearly. You're obeying even when it costs you. That level of surrender shifts your atmosphere, and not everyone will feel comfortable in that new space. Some will step back because they no longer recognize the version of you I'm revealing. Others will walk away because the conviction in your obedience shines a light on their compromise. Don't take it personally. You were never meant to carry guilt for someone else's departure. I am pruning not just your surroundings, but your emotional attachments to what no longer aligns with your calling. The ones who were never meant to handle what's next will quietly exit. And though you may feel the sting of their absence, know this: it's better to release now than to carry the wrong weight into sacred territory. Imagine dragging forward relationships that consistently require you to explain yourself, to downplay your growth, to shrink your boldness so they feel secure. That's not unity. That's bondage disguised as loyalty. I'm calling you into liberty, into divine alignment, into spaces where you no longer have to filter your fire to maintain peace. The people I'm bringing into your future will not question your devotion to me. They will honor it. They will not compete with your light. They will protect it. They will not pull you back into old patterns. They will push you into purpose. So trust me with the empty seats. Trust me when familiar faces become memories. Trust me when connections you assumed would last suddenly feel foreign. I am not subtracting out of cruelty, I am setting the stage for what can only flourish in an atmosphere of purity. If they could not handle your transition, they would have hindered your transformation. And I'm not allowing anything to stand in the way of what I've ordained. You are not being abandoned, you are being escorted into clarity. And if their absence stings, bring the ache to me. I will comfort you. I will fill the space they once occupied with my presence, and in time, I will surround you with the right souls, those who resonate with your journey and recognize the fragrance of my spirit on your life. You do not have to plead for anyone to stay. Let them go if they must. Release them with grace, knowing that what I have for you cannot be lost. My plans are not fragile. They do not depend on human consistency. They are rooted in eternal wisdom, and they will come to pass with or without the approval of those who walk away. So lift your eyes. Wipe your tears. You're not losing, you're transitioning. and what's ahead is filled with connections so pure, you'll wonder why you ever settled for anything less. Let the ones who must go, go. You're not walking into tomorrow alone, you're walking with me. You've been waiting for the wound to close while still clinging to what opened it, hoping that time alone would dull the ache, that patience would make things right, that holding on a little longer might somehow restore what has long been broken. But there are healings that do not begin until the farewell is fully spoken, not just with your words, but with your heart. Some restoration only starts after the release. You see, there are pains that linger not because they are incurable, but because they are constantly reopened by proximity. You can't bandage what keeps being reopened by the same touch. You've prayed for peace, yet surrounded yourself with the very triggers that disrupt it. You've asked me to heal your soul, while still entertaining what continues to bruise it. But healing begins when surrender is complete, when you no longer romanticize the past, when you no longer reach for what I've already told you to let go of, when you stop hoping they'll change and start allowing me to change you. You cannot receive what I want to pour into you while still gripping tightly to what has expired. I am the God of newness, and newness often requires closure. Not a dramatic end-to, not a bitter goodbye, but a sacred decision in your spirit that says, I release this. I choose to move forward. I choose to trust you even in the unknown. That choice doesn't erase the pain instantly. It doesn't mean you will forget the memories, but it opens the doorway for true healing to enter. It clears the space where bitterness tried to root itself. It gives me room to cleanse what's been contaminated by repeated disappointment. Until you say goodbye, you're still negotiating. You're still leaving a crack in the door for yesterday to return. But the healing I want to give you requires full closure, not because I'm angry, but because I want you whole. You can't step into peace while entertaining confusion. You can't claim freedom while keeping old bonds intact. And I know it's not easy. I've seen you go back and forth in your mind, reliving conversations, justifying behavior, hoping for a shift. But I'm here now, gently, firmly saying it's time. Not because you failed, not because they are unworthy, but because your healing cannot be postponed any longer. There is laughter you've forgotten how to express. There is joy that's been buried beneath unspoken grief. There is purpose that's been delayed by emotional limbo. And I love you too much to leave you there. That is why I'm leading you to this crossroads. That is why I've stirred the urgency in your spirit. It's not about bitterness. It's about becoming. You are not abandoning the past, you are honoring your future. You are not discarding love, you are choosing health. Some seasons must close so that others can breathe. And when you take that step, when you release without resentment, when you walk away without trying to carry their healing too, you will feel a stillness settle over you. Not the silence of emptiness, but the quiet that precedes renewal. That's when the true mending begins. I will speak in the space you once filled with striving. I will comfort the places that felt defined by abandonment. I will lift the heaviness and begin building something new, stronger, purer, rooted in me. And over time, as the days unfold, you'll notice the tenderness returning to your heart. You'll see color where there was only gray. You'll feel hope again, not forced, not imagined, but real. That is the healing I've promised. But it starts with the goodbye. Let it be holy. Let it be final. Let it be the key that unlocks the new door I've placed before you. You are not walking away from something, you are walking into healing. Trust me, and let it begin. When things began to fall away, I saw how your heart trembled. The sudden stillness around you, the removal of what once felt reliable, the shift in atmosphere, it all made you wonder if I had stepped back. You whispered questions in the quiet. Where are you, Lord? And though I didn't answer in the way you expected, I never left, not for a moment. What you've been walking through is not distance, it's refinement. What feels like absence is actually the process of me drawing nearer to your spirit than I ever have before. I know the pruning feels harsh. I know it looks like loss. But that cutting away was not my rejection, it was my care. You've been carrying things that were starting to crowd the garden of your purpose. weeds disguised as comfort, patterns masked as stability, familiarity that slowly dulled your awareness of my whisper. And in my mercy, I began to trim. Not to punish you, but to prepare you for a harvest you couldn't sustain with overgrowth in your heart. You prayed for more clarity, more breakthrough, more fullness. But growth doesn't begin in addition. It begins in subtraction. And that's where we are now. You are in the sacred place between what was and what will be, and it feels bare because I've stripped away what couldn't go with you. I didn't do it to hurt you. I did it to make room. Every branch I touch with tenderness. Every layer I removed, I did so with eternal vision. You cried over what fell away. I held you through it, not as a distant observer, but as a father shaping his child for destiny. The pain you felt was not abandonment, it was a transition into holiness. The silence you encountered was not neglect, it was space I carved out so you could finally hear me without interference. I have never been more near than I am now. I've been sitting with you in every quiet room. I've been catching every tear you didn't speak of. I've been reinforcing the roots of your soul beneath the surface, where no one else can see. That's where I do my deepest work, not where the world watches, but where only you and I know what's truly being restored. I'm not afraid of your confusion. I'm not ashamed of your questions. I welcome them because they mean you're still talking to me. They mean your heart is still reaching upward, even in the dark. And I want you to know this is holy ground. The season you're in is not a detour. It's not a setback. It's sacred preparation. Just as a gardener knows when to cut so the plant can thrive, I know exactly what must be trimmed so that your life produces what I've called forth. And yes, it stings. But the fruit that's coming will be sweeter than anything you've tasted before. Don't measure my closeness by what you feel. Measure it by the truth I've spoken. I will never leave you nor forsake you. If I've allowed this pruning, it means I am investing in your future. It means I see more in you than you currently see in yourself. I'm not discarding you. I'm refining you. I'm burning away what blocked the light, so that what remains can grow stronger, purer, and more deeply rooted in me. And when the new branches begin to form, when life returns in ways you didn't expect, you'll understand why I had to cut where I did. You'll thank me not only for what I gave, but for what I took. So hold on. Don't let the enemy convince you I've gone silent. I'm closer now than I've ever been. Lean into me. Let me finish the work. What looks barren today will bloom in ways beyond your imagination. This is not the end. It's just the clearing before the new life begins. There are paths you once pursued with confidence, opportunities you believed would open, plans you were sure would unfold just as you imagined. But instead of breakthrough, you met resistance. Instead of progress, you encountered stillness. You jiggled the handle of doors that once looked like promise, only to find they wouldn't budge. And in those moments, disappointment crept in. Doubt whispered lies. Maybe I missed it. Maybe I'm not ready. Maybe I failed. But I want to show you something deeper, something sacred. Not every closed door is rejection. Some are closed on purpose, not to hinder you, but to elevate your seeking, to shift your gaze upward, to teach your spirit to listen more intently. When I allow access to be denied, it is not because I want you stranded. It's because I want you prepared for something greater than what you were asking for. You see, many of the places you've knocked on were shaped by your previous season. They matched your old capacity, your former mindset, the level of influence you were once assigned to. But I've been expanding your spirit. I've been calling you to rise. And what once seemed sufficient is no longer aligned with what I'm building inside you now. So I closed certain doors not to frustrate you, but to reposition you. I wanted to awaken a deeper pursuit in you. I wanted to teach you to stop trying to open everything just because it looks good from the outside. I wanted you to start discerning where my presence actually dwells. Not every opportunity is divine. Not every invitation carries my fingerprint. Some are distractions in disguise, appealing but empty. attractive but misaligned. And I love you too much to let you settle for imitation. I have set apart higher places for you, realms of purpose that require your ear to be tuned to my whisper, not just your eyes to be drawn by what shines. And that kind of discernment isn't developed in constant access. It's birthed in delay. It's strengthened through doors that don't open, and moments that feel like silence. I know it feels like you're stuck, but you're not. You're being trained to lift your expectation higher, to ask differently, to wait more patiently. Every no, every pause, every detour, it's been shaping you, not punishing you, molding you, maturing your faith so that when I do open the right door, you'll recognize it instantly, not because it looks perfect, but because it carries my peace. And you'll enter with humility, not pride, with clarity, not confusion, with gratitude, not entitlement. That's the version of you I've been shaping in this process. Because the higher doors I have prepared require more than a dream, they require character, stewardship, and wisdom. So if I delayed access, it wasn't because I was denying your destiny. It's because I was protecting it. I was making sure that when the moment comes, you won't just walk through the door, you'll thrive in what's on the other side. And here's something else. Sometimes I allow lower doors to close so that your eyes will be forced upward. You've looked side to side for too long, comparing paths, chasing timelines, echoing strategies that weren't tailored for your calling. But the next door is not at eye level, it's above. It's spiritual. It opens not with striving but with intimacy. It responds to surrender, not status. And I've been guiding your gaze there. That's why nothing down here has satisfied lately. That's why the old ambitions feel hollow. Because I'm reconditioning your heart to crave what only heaven can give. So don't curse the closed door. Don't resent the rooms you weren't allowed into. They weren't your final destination. They were training grounds. And soon, the right door will open. The one I've had reserved. The one that's been waiting for the version of you who trusts me fully, walks with me daily, and knocks with confidence rooted in our relationship, not in outcomes. That door is coming. And when it opens, you'll realize every delay had purpose. Every no was sacred. Every locked moment was my hand teaching you where to knock next. Keep seeking. Keep rising. I'm not holding you back, I'm lifting you up. There are moments in your journey where what I'm doing will feel like loss before it reveals itself as a blessing. You've been conditioned to believe that favor must look like gain, that forward motion always feels exciting, that my goodness is best proven by visible increase. But my ways are not shaped by appearances, they are rooted in eternal wisdom. I know where each path leads, even when your eyes can't yet see the horizon. And I want you to hear me now. The goodbye I've led you to is not the end of something beautiful, it's the beginning of something far greater, though it may not seem that way right now. I authored this departure with purpose, not to harm you, not to confuse you, but to reroute you toward a kind of favor that cannot be measured by immediate comfort. I know how hard it is to accept this. You stood in that place so long. You gave your energy, your loyalty, your prayers, your hope. You dreamed of a different outcome, one where everything worked out without requiring such a deep release. So when I asked you to let go, it felt like you were surrendering a part of yourself. But what you let go of was not your identity, it was the shell that once held it. I never remove something precious without placing something pure in its place. The farewell wasn't a denial, it was a setup for realignment. I had to close the curtain on that chapter so the next act could unfold without conflict. You couldn't carry old ties into a future drenched in new oil. The favor that's forming around you needed a clean stage. I've seen how others around you seem to be flourishing without disruption. I've seen your heart question, why am I the one letting go while others hold on? But comparison cannot interpret my intention. I deal with you according to what I've placed inside you. Your calling is unique. Your refinement is personal. I am tailoring your route to match what I've designed for you alone. That's why it had to happen this way. That's why the departure came unannounced, swift, or quiet. because some doors I close without noise, not because I'm hiding from you, but because I'm protecting what comes next. The favor you're walking toward is sacred. It required a goodbye that wasn't loud, but final. And here's the truth I want to place gently in your spirit. Just because the farewell broke your rhythm doesn't mean it broke my promise. My favor doesn't always come wrapped in applause. Sometimes it arrives in the peace that follows obedience. Sometimes it's hidden in the strength you didn't know you had until you let go. Sometimes favor isn't about what you gain, it's about what no longer drains you. What I'm giving you will restore what was depleted. It will refresh your soul in places that have felt parched for far too long. You'll find yourself breathing deeper, thinking clearer, standing firmer, not because circumstances changed overnight, but because your spirit finally aligned with the flow of my grace. That's the kind of favor I'm ushering in. Not loud, not flashy, but undeniable. It will find you in quiet mornings and unexpected moments. It will surprise you in the very places where you once wept. And one day, you'll look back and say, that goodbye saved me. That ending birthed something I never would have reached without it. My hand hath been guiding you all along. And though the exit was painful, the destination carries healing, provision, and overflow. So hold your head high, not in pride, but in expectancy. What's ahead will not be built on striving, but on surrender. You said yes when you could have stayed stuck. You followed me when it cost you familiarity. And now, favor is chasing you not because you earned it, but because you trusted me when it didn't make sense. This is only the beginning. I've written this farewell with resurrection in mind. Watch what rises from here. You've been holding tightly not out of greed, but out of fear. Fear that if you let go, nothing better will come. Fear that release means emptiness. Fear that surrender could somehow leave you stranded. But I want you to hear me with clarity. What I'm asking you to place in my hands was never meant to be permanent. It was only ever a bridge, never the destination. And now, I'm inviting you to open your grip so I can fill it with something eternal. What you're afraid to release is taking up the space designed for something holy, something that won't slip away, something not rooted in emotion or dependent on the changing winds of others' choices. What I have for you next carries longevity, depth, and stability. But for it to come, there must first be room. And room is only created through release. I've seen you trying to preserve what's already reached its conclusion. You've replayed conversations. You've reimagined different outcomes. You've questioned whether you gave up too early or tried too hard. But I want you to rest in this truth. When I lead you to release something, it is always for the purpose of receiving something better. I never ask you to empty your hands unless I'm ready to fill them. I'm not trying to deprive you. I'm preparing you. I am making space within your heart, your time, your energy for what I've long wanted to entrust to you. But it can't come while you're still entangled in what's expired. Some things stayed long past their time, not because I willed it, but because you kept hoping they would change. You kept carrying what should have been set down. And that's why the heaviness came, not because you were weak, but because you were overburdened. You've been stretched thin trying to manage what I already called finished. But I'm not angry with you. I'm proud of your heart. I know you meant well. I know your intentions were rooted in compassion. And that's why I'm giving you the strength now to do what's hardest, to let it go in peace. I will catch what you release. I will handle what you lay down. And in exchange, I will give you something that cannot be shaken. The next thing I bring into your life will not be temporary. It won't vanish when pressure comes. It won't depend on how much you sacrifice to keep it. It will remain not because of your effort, but because it was meant to stay. That's what I want you to understand. I'm not just bringing something new, I'm bringing something lasting. Something that walks with you through seasons. Something that strengthens instead of grain. Something that draws you closer to me, not farther from your purpose. But I will not compete with cluttered hands. I will not pour into what's already full. I require space not just physically but spiritually. Room in your heart. Room in your mind. Room in your schedule. room in your dreams. And room only comes when you trust me enough to say, even if it's all I've known, I choose to release it. And when you do, you will feel the shift not just around you but within you. Peace will replace panic. Assurance will replace anxiety. And soon, you'll begin to sense the weight lifting. You'll wake up lighter. You'll breathe deeper. You'll walk freer. Because that's what happens when you let go of what was never meant to be held forever. It's not loss, it's transition. It's not the end, it's the beginning of permanence. I have a covenant for you, not just a season. And when it arrives, you'll understand why it took this long. You'll see why I had to pull you aside, why I had to remove distractions, why I had to whisper this moment into your soul. So take a breath. Open your hands. Trust the exchange. What I give you next will not slip away, it will stay. Because it comes from me. You've been moving quickly, doing, thinking, searching, trying to stay ahead of the ache. It's a natural reaction, I know. When something dear is slipping away, the instinct is to rush into activity, to stay distracted, to avoid the silence where grief becomes loud. But I am calling you into a different kind of response. Not more effort, not louder prayers, not endless figuring out. I'm asking you to stop just for a moment and sit with me in stillness. Not because I want you to do nothing, but because I want you to hear something. There is something I'm speaking over what you've just released, something you cannot receive in motion. There is clarity waiting for you in the quiet. There is healing that begins not in movement but in awareness. I want to speak over the place in you that still wonders if you made the right decision. I want to breathe into the space that feels empty after surrender. I want to bless what you've laid down, not just in spirit, but in language, so that your heart can carry my word forward, even when memories try to pull you backward. The truth is, you've let go, but you haven't fully allowed yourself to feel what that means. You've released physically, but emotionally, your soul is still tied to moments, expectations, possibilities. And that's okay. I'm not rushing your process, but I am inviting you deeper. You've done the hard part of letting go, now let me do the holy part of redeeming it. That redemption starts with stillness. Stillness is where I remind you of who you are without what you were holding. Stillness is where my voice grows louder than the internal dialogue that keeps replaying what could have been. Stillness doesn't mean absence of feeling, it means being fully present with me in the middle of it. I'm not afraid of your sorrow. I'm not put off by your questions. I welcome all of it. But you must be still long enough to hear me speak above it. I want to name this transition for you, not the name others have given it, not the label your pain has tried to assign it, but the name I call it from heaven. To me, this release was not failure, it was faithfulness. It was the sound of your soul saying yes to me, even when comfort screamed no. And I want you to carry that truth like a seal upon your heart. I don't want this part of your story to be marked by confusion. I want it to be remembered by my declaration over it. But you won't hear my voice while rushing to fix what I've already closed. You won't sense my nearness if you're too busy analyzing what has already been settled. So be still, not out of fear, but out of expectancy. Sit in the sacred. Let your soul quiet down long enough to catch the rhythm of my breath again. Let the noise fade, not because the world has stopped, but because you've chosen to listen to something higher. I'm not going to shout over your distractions. I'm going to wait until your spirit chooses to lean in. Because when you do, what you will hear will reframe everything. You'll hear my approval, not just over what you're stepping into, but over what you've chosen to walk away from. You'll hear my affirmation, not of perfection, but of obedience. You'll hear me call you forward, not with pressure, but with presence. This is not a time to perform. This is a time to receive. I want to whisper strength where you feel weak. I want to anoint the areas that feel raw. I want to remind you that what you let go of is not greater than what I'm about to do. But you can't hear that in motion. You can't absorb that truth while bracing for the next task. Stillness is the altar where I reveal myself in new ways. And you, yes, you are standing on holy ground. So pause with me here. Let the world continue spinning. Let the expectations fall away. Be still, and let me speak. You felt the pressure to explain yourself, to give reasons, to clarify, to make your choices digestible for those who have questioned your direction. You sensed the weight of unspoken accusations and subtle assumptions from people who don't see the whole picture. I don't understand what you heard from me. They weren't there in the quiet hours when I whispered instruction. They didn't feel the shift in your spirit when I gently said, "It's time to move." So they speculate. They assume. They talk. And your heart aches with the desire to be understood. You want to clear the fog, to defend the steps you've taken in faith. But I am asking you to choose something different, something higher. I am asking you to remain still and let your silence speak. Because there is a kind of power I'm building in you that doesn't need validation to be true. And that kind of power doesn't beg to be noticed. It simply stands rooted, steady, unwavering. I know it feels unnatural. You're used to responding. You've always carried the burden of making others comfortable. But this time is different. This is not about them. This is about what I'm doing in you. I am teaching you how to let go of the need to be approved by others so you can be fully immersed in what I've appointed for you. I don't need you to explain what I've commanded. Obedience speaks for itself in time. The fruit will make clear what your words never could. I've hidden you for a reason. I've drawn you into a place where your voice won't be heard by everyone, and that's intentional. I'm teaching you to be okay with being unseen while I do something significant beneath the surface. You don't need to narrate your process. You just need to trust it. Let them watch. Let them wonder. Let them misunderstand. I'm not building your future on their comprehension. I'm building it on your surrender. And your stillness, your refusal to argue or retaliate or justify, is a louder declaration of faith than any speech you could offer. Every time you choose to stay quiet rather than defend what I've told you, you are saying with your actions, "I trust the one who called me." A kind of trust resounds in heaven. It shakes things in the spirit that words never could. You are not being passive, you are being aligned. You are not weak, you are anchored. I will speak on your behalf when the time is right. I will reveal what's hidden when the season shifts. But right now, your greatest strength is your restraint. Do not let the noise of others pull you out of peace. Do not allow their opinions to drag you into battles that aren't yours to fight. Silence is not absence, it is presence under control. It is faith mature. It is wisdom demonstrated. I'm molding something inside you that doesn't flinch at being misunderstood. That doesn't chase applause. That doesn't panic when left out. You are becoming immovable not because you've hardened, but because you've been rooted. And this kind of inner solidity will serve you well in the days to come. Because greater influence is coming, and with it, more eyes, more voices, more noise. If you can remain calm now, when confusion surrounds you, you'll carry a peace into the next season that cannot be shaken by pressure. So let your silence be your answer. Let your stillness be your stand. Let your obedience speak in its own time. I see you. I know what it took to keep quiet. I know what you could have said but didn't. I know the self-control it took to simply walk away, to bless when you wanted to correct, to smile when your heart was bruised. And I honor it. I'll use it. I'll reward it. Your silence is not wasted, it is sowing a harvest that will speak volumes. So keep walking. Keep trusting. The story isn't finished yet. But when it unfolds, they won't need an explanation. They'll see me all over it. There are people whose presence belonged to a former version of you not because they were bad, but because they were only meant to accompany you for a stretch of the road, not the full journey. Their language was shaped by who you were, not by who you are becoming. And now, as I call you forward into a greater clarity, deeper purpose, and bolder obedience, their voices no longer carry the sound of alignment. I know that's not easy to accept. I know you cherish some of those bonds. The history you shared felt like a reason to keep them close. But I need you to understand, just because someone walked with you in the beginning does not mean they are called to walk with you into what's next. I am calling you higher, and not everyone can breathe in higher altitudes. Some voices were familiar, but not prophetic. They spoke into your comfort, not into your calling. They reminded you of where you've been, but they can't help you recognize where I'm taking you. And the truth is, if you continue trying to pull them into your future, you'll begin to shrink yourself to fit back into the version of you they understand. You'll water down your fire to keep them close. You'll pause your momentum to keep from outgrowing their acceptance. And I love you too much to let that happen. That's why I've allowed some conversations to fade. That's why the connection that once felt life-giving now feels out of rhythm. You've been trying to rekindle something I already allowed to dissolve. And that's not rejection, it's revelation. I am showing you who has the capacity to recognize your destiny, not just your history. I'm showing you who speaks the language of where you're going, not just where you've been. The voices that echo your past often do so from a place of memory, not revelation. They see you through the lens of your former patterns, not through the eyes of what I've anointed for the days ahead. And when you lean too heavily on what's familiar, you begin to question what I've confirmed. That's why I'm separating you, not to isolate, but to elevate. I am surrounding you with new clarity, fresh discernment, and relationships that speak life into your future, not limitations from your past. This shift isn't about disloyalty. It's about maturity. Growth always costs familiarity, and it's okay to grieve what once was, but don't cling to it. Don't keep turning back for permission I never told you to seek. The anointing I've placed on your life doesn't require agreement from those who can't see it. And you don't need to slow down your progress to make others feel comfortable. I'm not asking you to disrespect where you've come from, I'm asking you to honor where I'm taking you. You cannot carry both. Your past was a foundation, but it was never meant to be a ceiling. The ones I've assigned to your future will recognize your spirit without needing a full explanation of your process. They will champion your obedience, not question your quiet seasons. They will remind you of what I've spoken, not what you've outgrown. But for those people to find you, you must walk forward fully, freely, without dragging old echoes behind you. Your future carries a sound, a vibration that resonates with those who walk in step with my spirit. But if you're still tuning your ears to voices that only recall your previous battles, you won't hear the frequency of where I'm leading you now. It's time to move forward, not with resentment, but with resolve. Bless those who could not continue. Honor the chapters they were a part of. But do not remain in a place I've already led you beyond. The next phase of your journey requires new echoes, words that stir your faith, not your fears. So lift your eyes. Let the voices of yesterday fade if they must. I will fill your life with the right sounds at the right time. You are not moving alone, you are moving with me. And I know exactly who belongs in the next page. When something departs from your life, a person, a place, a season, you often hear only the sound of loss. It echoes like an ending, a final chapter, a closing door. But what you don't always realize is that in heaven, that sound is not just an ending, it is a beginning. What felt like an earthly goodbye was also me extending a higher invitation to you. When you said farewell to what once anchored you here, I was opening access to a deeper part of me that only reveals itself when attachments are released. And that, beloved, is sacred ground. You didn't lose something and fall into emptiness. You were pulled upward into a dimension of my presence that only becomes visible when comfort is stripped away. I know the departure didn't feel holy. I know it was wrapped in tears, unanswered questions, and sudden silence. But what you couldn't see was how I leaned in closer at the very moment others pulled away. When someone exited your life, when a role ended, when a dream dissolved, I drew you in. I marked that moment with purpose. Because farewells that happen on earth often awaken longings that only heaven can satisfy. It's not punishment. It's preparation. You were never designed to settle into anything temporal as your foundation. That is why I allowed the shaking. That is why I loosen your grip from what seemed so secure. Because every time something is removed from your grasp, I'm drawing your gaze back to me. Not to leave you lacking, but to remind you where your source truly is. You built beautifully. You've invested deeply. But now I'm inviting you to receive differently. What I'm preparing to give you next doesn't come through effort, it flows from intimacy. And that kind of intimacy only grows in seasons when the familiar fades. The Dubai you recently experienced created space for this encounter. This is not just transition, it's an awakening. You are seeing now how fragile earthly attachments can be. You are realizing how suddenly things can shift. That awareness is not meant to create fear, it's meant to root you in the eternal. I want you to become so deeply connected to my voice that you stop needing confirmation from circumstance. I want you to walk with such quiet assurance that no human farewell shakes your stability. And I want to whisper into that place of loneliness something the world cannot give: I am with you always. You were not abandoned, you were beckoned. You were not forgotten, you were called higher. And yes, it hurts. The vacancy is real. But so is the invitation I've placed before you. An invitation to come closer, to go deeper, to lean not on what was lost, but on what is waiting in my presence. I am teaching you how to live from a place of spiritual access, not emotional dependency. That's why I've allowed this moment. That's why the goodbye had to come. Because what's waiting for you and me is not a replacement, it's revelation. When someone exits, it creates a vacuum that only I can fill. And I will. Not just with peace, but with purpose. Not just with comfort, but with calling. You'll see. Soon, what you perceived as separation will reveal itself as elevation. The door that closed behind you with the very key that opened one before you. You just didn't recognize the sound at first, because it came with pain. But pain is often the disguise my presence wears when it enters quietly and begins to rebuild what the world could never touch. You are not alone. This farewell is a portal. This absence is an access point. I've written this moment with intention, and when you look back, you'll see that what you thought was a breaking was actually a beginning. So come closer. Let the past be released. Let the tears fall if they must. But don't miss the invitation. I'm here. Heaven is near. And we are just getting started. You felt it, haven't you? That inner stirring, quiet at first, like a soft wind brushing against your soul, then stronger, more consistent, like a current urging you to move. It has unsettled you, not in a chaotic way, but in a way that feels undeniably intentional. You're sensing a deep change, even though nothing obvious has occurred on the outside. What you're experiencing is not random. It is my hand, working with tenderness and precision, removing what has outlived its place in your life. And I'm not doing it harshly, I'm doing it with the compassion of a surgeon who knows exactly what needs to be lifted so that healing can take hold. What once comforted you is now causing friction. What once energized you now leaves you feeling drained. What once aligned with your values now seems to stand in quiet opposition. That shift is me. I am carefully peeling back layers of habits, connections, thoughts, and environments that were once acceptable but are no longer conducive to your growth. You've been praying for clarity. You've been asking for peace. You've cried out for more of me. And I've heard every single word. This shift is my response. It may not look like an answer, but it is. I'm not removing to hurt you, I'm making space for what you asked for. You see, some things that worked in your last season would quietly sabotage the one I'm leading you into. Not all enemies come with obvious opposition. Some arrive wrapped in routine, disguised as harmless familiarity. But I see what you cannot. I know what drains your discernment. I know what dulls your sensitivity to my whisper. And that's why I'm gently guiding you away from certain patterns and people. Not to isolate you, but to insulate what I'm growing in you. What you feel as discomfort is actually divine realignment. I'm shifting your internal compass back to true north, away from approval, away from performance, away from pressure, and back to presence. Back to purpose. Back to me. You've tried to maintain things I've already marked as complete. You've pushed forward in spaces I'm no longer inhabiting. You've lingered where your spirit keeps nudging you to leave. But I'm not here to condemn that. I'm here to free you from it. This is not about shame. It's about recalibration. I'm refining your atmosphere so that what comes next can take root without interference. The vision I've placed inside of you is delicate right now and cannot flourish in mixed soil. That's why certain conversations now feel empty. That's why what once excited you now feels hollow. That's why you're losing interest in things that used to define your time. Don't resist it. Embrace it. This is transformation. It's the slow, sacred work of shedding what served you in survival but will not support your thriving. I am preparing you for deeper things, weightier glory, greater assignments, clearer revelation. But preparation always requires purging. And purging is never about punishment, it's about making room. I know you've grown attached to certain routines, even if they've quietly kept you from intimacy with me. But I will not compete for your heart. I will never force myself into a space you refuse to open. So I've started prompting you through restlessness, through friction, through unease, because I want you to notice what no longer fits. I want you to pay attention to where your peace is missing. Not because something is wrong with you, but because something new is right around the corner. This shift is not a threat, it's a signal. It's a signpost that says, you're moving closer to who you truly are. And the more you yield to it, the more you will feel clarity rush in. You won't be loud. It won't be dramatic. It will be quiet and confident and unmistakably me. So trust the shift. Don't run from the feelings that are surfacing. Don't numb them. Don't question your sanity. You are not unraveling, you are being reset. This is holy ground. Walk slowly. Listen closely. And know that what I remove now is only to reveal what's been waiting for you to receive. You've been walking through this season carrying something few have truly seen. A burden of obedience. The weight of quiet surrender. The silent strength required to follow me when others didn't agree. And I know it's felt lonely. You've longed for someone to simply understand, not just to hear your words, but to recognize the depth behind your choices. You weren't trying to be different. You were trying to be faithful. But the ones who once walked beside you have looked at your path with puzzled eyes. They've questioned your silence, your distance, your transformation. And at times, their misunderstanding has pierced deeper than opposition. Because it wasn't strangers, it was people you loved. People you thought would cheer you on, who instead quietly stepped away or watched from a distance with concern in their eyes. And you've asked me, Lord, will they ever see what you've shown me? Let me answer that with truth and peace. They may not see it now. Their hearts may not yet be ready to recognize the fire that shaped you, the whispers you followed, the cost you carried in secret. But there will come a day when something in them will shift, when life presses them, when their own soul begins to search, when the things they lead on no longer satisfy. In that moment, they will remember. They'll remember the calm in your voice when you chose peace over explanation. They'll remember the steadiness in your eyes when you refused to fight for approval. They'll remember how you kept showing love, even when they offered questions instead of encouragement. The light you've carried, yes, even in this quiet farewell, is not fading. It's imprinting. You don't even realize the seeds you've sown simply by staying faithful. Every act of silent strength, every boundary set with grace, every step taken without fanfare. These things speak louder than any argument, and they don't vanish, they echo. My light in you is never wasted, even when it's misunderstood, even when it's dismissed. Light doesn't beg to be noticed, it simply shines. And that is what you've done. That is what you're still doing. I know you wanted to be understood. That desire isn't wrong, it's deeply human. But I am doing something far more lasting than understanding. I'm building a legacy of light in and through you. Something others will come back to, not because you demanded their attention, but because your consistency built a quiet altar of truth they'll one day return to. There will be a moment, maybe not soon, maybe not visibly, when those who couldn't walk with you will face their own crossroads. And in that moment, they'll remember how you stood firm, not with pride, not with superiority, but with gentle clarity. They'll remember the way your life bore fruit even when the soil looked barren. They'll remember how you chose my voice over their comfort, and it will mark them. You won't need to say a word. Your witness will do the speaking. This is why I've asked you to keep walking, even without applause, because I've been using your life as a silent sermon, and what you think went unnoticed has actually been taking root in places you can't see. Keep shining, not for their approval, not to prove anything, but because you carry me. You carry a light that was never meant to dim in the presence of doubt. You carry a radiance not dependent on being understood, and I will honor that light. I will protect it, and one day, I will use it to guide others back to me, even those who could not understand your journey now. So don't be discouraged. Keep walking with grace. Keep loving from purity. Keep obeying from the deep well of trust we've built. You are seen. You are not forgotten. And you are making more impact than you realize. They may not get it yet, but they will remember the light. And when they do, they'll see me. You've taken the first steps, and I know how heavy they felt. Even though you knew it was time to move forward, something inside still pulled at your heart to glance behind, to revisit, to reflect, to wonder. But I need you to hear me clearly in this moment. What's behind you is not your home anymore. You're not being led in circles, you're being ushered into something new. And the only way to fully receive it is to stop revisiting the places that no longer fit who you're becoming. The past held purpose, yes. It shaped you, and taught you. It even protected you for a time. But that season has done what it was meant to do, and now I'm calling you ahead, not with uncertainty, but with divine precision. Every step you take now is not just a walk away from what was, but a step toward what have been waiting for you all along. And you do not walk alone. I am not just behind you, healing the parts of you that were wounded by the journey. I am ahead of you, preparing the next room, the next open field, the next moment of peace. I go before you as a guide, as a shield, as the one who lights your path even when you're unsure where the road leads. The urge to look back is natural, but I want to caution you, it is often the doorway to regret. And regret clouds clarity. It distorts truth. It convinces you that what you left behind was better than it actually was. But I deal in truth, not illusion. And the truth is, what lies behind you was never meant to carry you into your purpose. It may have felt safe. It may have seemed secure. But it could not hold what I've now placed inside you. This version of you healed, maturing, line cannot flourish in soil that was only meant to sustain your roots for a time. I am transplanting you now, repositioning you so that you can grow deeper, reach further, stand taller. But if you keep looking back, you'll anchor your heart to what I've already unhooked you from. Don't grieve what I've removed more than you celebrate what I'm revealing. I am doing something ahead of you that your eyes haven't seen, but your spirit has already begun to sense. That anticipation you feel, that whisper that something greater is coming, that's me. I'm walking the road ahead of you, not just watching, but shaping every detail. I'm speaking to hearts you haven't met yet. I'm opening doors you haven't even knocked on. I'm making space in places that once seemed inaccessible. And I need your eyes forward so you don't miss it. There's a joy waiting for you, one that's not connected to anything you've had to leave. Here's a peace that won't be disrupted by old cycles. Here's clarity that won't be clouded by voices from before. But you won't find them by retracing steps. I've placed them in your forward motion. The enemy will always tempt you to revisit what I've closed. He'll try to romanticize the memories. He'll try to stir questions that lead to nothing but distraction. But I am calling you to greater focus now. This is not the time to pause at the edge of progress. Keep moving, not hurriedly but intentionally. Every step with me is a step into fulfillment. I am faithful to complete what I start, and I have not brought you this far to leave you wondering. So trust me. Trust the direction, even when the destination is still unfolding. Trust the process, even when it doesn't yet make sense. And trust the presence, my presence that goes before you with every heartbeat. Let your gaze remain fixed. Let your spirit lean forward. Let your hope arise with every footfall. Because I'm not just sending you ahead, I'm walking there with you, before you, and for you. Leave what needs to be left. Say goodbye to what can't go with you. And don't look back. Your future is not behind you. I am. You've laid something down, something meaningful, something you once believed would always be part of your story. And now you stand in the in-between, wondering if what's coming will ever match what you had to surrender. The uncertainty is real. The ache still lingers. But I want you to lean into my words right now, more than your feelings, more than the echo of what was. What lies ahead is not just a replacement, it's an elevation. I never lead you to release unless I've already prepared something far more beautiful to receive. Your sacrifice has not gone unnoticed. Every step you've taken in faith hath been seen, counted, and preserved in my perfect memory. I am a redeemer by nature, and I never take something without the intent to multiply your return, not only in blessing but in depth, in wisdom, and in fulfillment. You may not see the full picture yet, but the pieces are already in motion. Behind the veil of your understanding, I've been orchestrating things you wouldn't have dared to pray for. I've been aligning people, opportunities, divine moments that will not just restore what was lost, but exceed it in every way. But I need you to loosen your grip on the old so your hands can be free to take hold of the new. You can't carry the weight of both. What's coming requires space. Emotional, spiritual, and even physical space. I know you're tempted to measure the future by what you've just let go of, but don't. What's ahead is not limited by your past. I'm not recycling old dreams. I'm birthing fresh ones. The freedom, clarity, connection, and joy you've been craving. It's not just wishful thinking, it's already written into the next chapter. I've seen the places where you've been stretched. I've seen what wore you thin. I've seen the quiet surrender you made when no one else was watching. That offering was holy to me. And now, I'm about to respond not with a whisper, but with evidence. Not because you earned it, but because I love you too much to leave you empty-handed. This is not about restoring everything exactly as it was. This is about revealing what you didn't even realize was missing. There are things I'm bringing into your life that will nourish you in ways you've never known, relationships that breathe life, assignments that carry meaning, peace that doesn't fade under pressure. And here's the truth. If I had let you cling to what you were holding, you would have missed what I've been preparing. The journey of trust often feels backwards at first. It feels like loss before it feels like gain. But just like a seed must fall before it grows, your release is the signal for something powerful to begin sprouting. Don't let the temporary emptiness fool you into thinking you made a mistake. You follow me, and I honor obedience more than understanding. You won't always grasp the why in the moment, but you will recognize the fruit when it starts to bloom. And when it does, you'll realize that what I give is never lesser. I'm not subtracting, I'm refining. I'm not taking from you, I'm investing in you. And you'll look back and say, thank you for not letting me settle. Thank you for loving me enough to close that chapter. You'll feel stronger, not just because you survived, but because you trusted. You'll walk with more authority, more grace, more resilience because you allowed me to lead without needing all the answers first. That's what I want you to carry now. Expectation, not fear, not comparison, but a confident hope that I am faithful to do immeasurably more than you can imagine. So open your heart fully. Don't enter the next with hesitation. Don't wait for the proof before you embrace the promise. Step in knowing that what's forming ahead will not only bless you, it will pour through you to others. I am not done with your story. I'm about to unveil the part where the restoration becomes undeniable. Trust me, what you're about to walk into is far greater than anything you had to leave behind. You've been holding the edge of this page, hesitant to turn it. You know it's time. You can feel it in your bones. Yet something keeps pulling you to linger in the lines that have already been written, lines filled with moments, memories, decisions, and dreams that brought you here. You will read them, hoping maybe something different will emerge, something will validate staying just a little longer. But I am here now, gently asking you to let me close it. Not because what came before wasn't important, it was. Every word etched into this chapter mattered. Every detail, even the ones that hurt, carried significance. But this chapter was never meant to last forever. It was only ever meant to carry you to this threshold. And now I stand before you, hand extended, asking you to trust me enough to let it end so something new can begin. The story I'm writing doesn't stall at this page. There's more. So much more. But I won't force the page to turn. I wait for your surrender. I wait for your permission. Because this isn't about erasing what was, it's about releasing it. You've outgrown certain words. You've risen above some of the struggles that once defined you. You've healed in places that used to hold scars. And now, this page, though familiar, no longer holds the weight of your calling. It served you well. But the next part cannot begin until you let me seal this one with grace. You've been asking for breakthrough, but I need you to understand breakthrough often looks like turning away from what feels safe. Promise lives in what's ahead, not what's already past. And I've hidden something beautiful just beyond this moment of surrender. It's not delayed, it's waiting. Waiting for you to stop rehearsing what's already done. Waiting for you to stop trying to rewrite what has already been settled in heaven. I've written a promise that needs space to bloom, but it cannot share a page with the past. It needs blankness, openness, surrender. You can't receive what's next while gripping what's done. And I know it's difficult. Endings are tender places. You wonder if you've honored the process, if you've learned what you were meant to learn. But child, listen, your faithfulness in this season has been more than enough. You don't have to understand everything that happened to move forward. You don't have to solve every mystery to enter the next miracle. Some things will only make sense when you see what I had planned all along. But you won't see it if you stay stuck on this sentence. You're not dishonoring your journey by letting me carry you ahead. You're actually fulfilling it. You're trusting that I'm a better author than your fears give me credit for. Let me prove to you what I can do with an unwritten space. Let me take the pen and inscribe glory where grief once rested. Let me speak beauty into areas you thought were barren. But to do that, you must let go of what can't walk with you into what I've designed next. Let this page rest. You've written it with tears, laughter, silence, and prayer. You've lived it well. Now live what comes next with even more courage. You don't need to fear what follows, because I'm the one scripting it. I've already gone ahead and placed divine appointments, provision, and peace on every line. This chapter won't look like the last, but it will carry the fulfillment of what you've hoped for. So close it, not in sorrow but in faith. Trust that nothing is ending without a greater unveiling. I will not leave you in transition. I will walk with you from punctuation to promise. What I've started in you is still unfolding. And this page is just the pause before the unveiling of something beyond what you imagine. Let me close it. And when you do, don't look back. Look forward, because what I'm about to reveal will make everything make sense. You've reached this sacred moment, the closing breath of a season, the final echo of a journey that brought both breakthrough and breaking. And now, as you stand in the stillness that follows farewell, I want you to understand what this really is. This is not a dead end. This is not a void. This is not silence meant to punish or abandon you. This is the pause before the unveiling, the final hush before a divine unveiling begins. The farewell you've spoken, whether with words, with tears, or with quiet release, is not where your story stops. It's where my wonder begins. You see, the endings I author are not built on destruction, but on design. I close with purpose. I finish with intention. I wrap seasons in silence, not to leave you wondering, but to set the atmosphere for what I am about to unveil. My wonders don't come with loud announcements. They arrive in quiet rooms, in still hearts, in moments when you least expect and most need them. And you, my beloved, are standing at the threshold of one. This goodbye you've walked through, this letting go of what you thought you'd always need, is the sacred space that now makes room for what I've long been waiting to release. You've cried your way through this part. You've questioned your own strength. You've wondered if anything beautiful could possibly follow what feels so final. But hear me, it's not the end, it's the beginning of something far more glorious than you can now imagine. My wonders are not predictable. They do not follow logic. They appear suddenly, gently, like sunrise breaking through the darkest night. And that's what's coming for you. This is not where you fade. This is where I cause your spirit to rise refreshed, realigned, reborn in purpose. I'm breathing new life into what felt dormant. I'm opening doors that didn't even exist in your mind. I'm restoring places in your heart that grief tried to close off. And soon you'll see that the sorrow of goodbye carried within it the seed of something miraculous. You didn't walk away, you were carried forward. You didn't lose, you were released to receive more. You didn't break, you were remade in the hands of the one who never stops forming beauty from ashes. And I've been with you through all of it. And the chapters you didn't understand. And the nights where your tears soaked the pillow. In the hours where you smiled for others while privately battling questions that felt too heavy to voice. I was there. And I'm here still. But now, I'm calling your attention ahead, not just to survive, but to anticipate. I want your heart to awaken again, not just to endure, but to expect. The wonder that's coming won't feel like striving. It will feel like breathing. It won't look like what you've seen before. It won't imitate what you've witnessed in others. It will be uniquely yours. It will speak directly to the deepest prayers you never shared aloud. It will arrive not to impress but to affirm that I have always been writing your story with eternity in mind. That I've never wasted a moment. That I saw every unseen act of faith, every hidden yes, every quiet obedience that cost you so much. You are stepping into a place where the whisper of farewell gives way to the roar of my presence. Where mourning makes room for miracles. Where what felt like the end becomes the birthplace of wonder. So don't fear this silence. Let it settle. Let it wash over your spirit like dew on morning grass. Because it is in this hush that I begin to reveal. Listen closely. Breathe deeply. Something holy is on its way. The wonder isn't coming later, it's already on the move. And you, my beloved, are ready to receive it. The farewell was only the final whisper before I bring you into what you never saw coming but always needed. This is where the wonder begins. Amen.